Anti-malware defenses are a core part of any company's security model in this day and age. So it's important as an IT support specialist to know what's out there. Today, the internet is full of bots, viruses, worms, and other automated attacks. Lots of unprotected systems would be compromised in a matter of minutes if directly connected to the internet without any safeguards or protections in place. And they need to have critical system updates. While modern operating systems have reduced this threat vector by having basic firewalls enabled by default, there's still a huge amount of attack traffic on the internet. Anti-malware measures play a super important role in keeping this type of attack off your systems and helping to protect your users. Antivirus software has been around for a really long time, but some security experts question the value it can provide to a company, especially since more sophisticated malware and attacks have been spun up in recent years. Antivirus software is signature-based. This means that it has a database of signatures that identify known malware, like the unique file hash of a malicious binary, or the file associated with an infection. Or it could be the network traffic characteristics that malware uses to communicate with a command and control server. Antivirus software will monitor and analyze things like new files being created or being modified on the system in order to watch for any behavior that matches a known malware signature. If it detects activity that matches the signature, depending on the signature type, it will attempt to block the malware from harming the system. But some signatures might only be able to detect the malware after the infection has occurred. In that case, it may attempt to quarantine the infected files. If that's not possible, it'll just log and alert the detection event. At a high level, this is how all antivirus products work. There are two issues with antivirus software, though. The first is that they depend on antivirus signatures distributed by the antivirus software vendor. The second is that they depend on the antivirus vendor discovering new malware and writing new signatures for newly discovered threats. Until the vendor is able to write new signatures and publish and disseminate them, your antivirus software can't protect you from these emerging threats. Boo. Antivirus, which is designed to protect systems, actually represents an additional attack surface that attackers can exploit. You might be thinking, wait, our own antivirus tools can be another threat to our system? What's the deal with that? Well, this is because of the very nature of what an antivirus engine must do. It takes arbitrary and potentially malicious binaries as input and performs various operations on them. Because of this, there are a lot of complex code where very serious bugs could exist. Exactly this kind of vulnerability was found in the Sophos antivirus engine back in 2012. You can read more about this event in the supplementary readings. So it sounds like antivirus software isn't ideal and has some pretty large drawbacks. Then why are we still recommending it as a core piece of security design? The short answer is this: it protects against the most common attacks out there on the internet. The really obvious stuff that still poses a threat to your systems still needs to be defended against. Antivirus is an easy solution to provide that protection. It doesn't matter how much user education you instill in your employees. There will still be some folks who will click on an email that has an infected attachment. A good way to think about antivirus in today's very noisy external threat environment is like a filter for the attack noise on the internet today. It lets you remove the background noise and focus on the more important targeted or specific threats. Remember, our defense in depth concept involves multiple layers of protection. Antivirus software is just one piece of our anti-malware defenses. If antivirus can't protect us from the threats we don't know about, how do we protect against the unknown threats out there? Well, antivirus operates on a blacklist model, checking against a list of known bad things and blocking what gets matched. There's a class of anti-malware software that does the opposite. Binary whitelisting software operates off a whitelist. It's a list of known good and trusted software, and only things that are on the list are permitted to run. Everything else is blocked. You can think of this as applying the implicit deny-ACL rule to software execution. By default, everything is blocked. Only things explicitly allowed to execute are able to. I should call out that this typically only applies to executable binaries, not arbitrary files like PDF documents or text files. This would naturally defend against any unknown threats, but at the cost of convenience. Think about how frequently you download and install new software on your machine. Now, imagine if you had to get approval before you could download and install any new software. That would be really annoying, don't you think? Now, imagine that every system update had to be whitelisted before it could be applied. Obviously, not trusting everything wouldn't be very sustainable. It's for this reason that binary whitelisting software can trust software using a couple different mechanisms. The first is using the unique cryptographic hash of binaries, which are used to identify unique binaries. This is used to whitelist individual executables. The other trust mechanism is a software signing certificate. Remember back when we discussed public key cryptography and signatures using public and private key pairs? Software signing, or code signing, is the same idea, but applied to software. A software vendor can cryptographically sign binaries they distribute using a private key. The signature can be verified at execution time by checking the signature using the public key embedded in the certificate and verifying the trust chain of the public key. If the hash matches and the public key is trusted, then the software can be verified that it came from someone with the software vendor's code signing private key. Binary whitelisting systems can be configured to trust specific vendors' code signing certificates. They permit all binaries signed with that certificate to run. This is helpful for automatically trusting content like system updates, along with software in common use that comes from reputable and trusted vendors. But can you guess the downside here? Each new code signing certificate that's trusted represents an increase in attack surface. An attacker could compromise the code signing certificate of a software vendor that your company trusts and use that to sign malware that targets your company. That would bypass any binary whitelisting defenses in place. Not good. This exact scenario happened back in 2013 to Bit9, a binary whitelisting software company. Hackers managed to breach their internal network and found an unsecured virtual machine. It had a copy of the code signing certificate's private key. They stole that key and used it to sign malware that would have been trusted by all Bit9 software installations by default.